Imagine a man so feared, so influential, that even kings and popes paid him just to keep him quiet. A man whose pen was sharper than any sword, and whose words could build empires or tear them down. This wasn't a king, a general, or a religious leader. He was a writer, a poet, a blackmailer extraordinaire. This is the incredible story of Pietro Aretino, the scourge of princes. Born in 1492 in Arezzo, Italy, the illegitimate son of a shoemaker, Pietro's beginnings were humble. But from this modest start, a towering ambition grew. He moved to Rome as a young man, a city teeming with power, art, and corruption, the perfect playground for someone with his talents. He didn't have a formal education, but he had something far more valuable, a razor-sharp wit and an uncanny ability to read people. His first taste of fame came from a series of satirical poems known as the Pasquinades. In Rome, there was an ancient, weathered statue called Pasquino. At night, people would secretly attach witty, often ruthless, verses to it, criticizing the powerful figures of the city. Aretino became the undisputed king of the Pasquinade. His poems were so clever, so biting, that all of Rome would gather in the morning to read them. He spared no one, from cardinals to dukes, and his reputation as a fearless satirist began to spread like wildfire. But Aretino wanted more than just street fame. He wanted influence and wealth. He found his way into the powerful courts of the Medici family and the Pope. Here, he honed his craft, not just as a poet, but as a master of public relations and propaganda. He understood something revolutionary for his time: information is power, and he knew how to control it. His method was simple, yet genius. He would write flattering letters and poems to powerful rulers across Europe, praising their wisdom, their strength, their generosity. He was essentially creating a brand for them, but there was always an unspoken threat. If you didn't reward him for his praise, his pen could just as easily turn against you. A flattering poem could become a scandalous expose. A letter of admiration could become a torrent of insults, revealing your darkest secrets to the world. And it worked. Rulers from King Francis I of France to the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V lined up to pay him. They sent him gold chains, lavish gifts, and hefty pensions. It wasn't just a payment, it was protection money. They weren't just patrons of the arts, they were victims of the world's most sophisticated blackmail scheme. He famously boasted, "I am a free man. I do not need to tell lies to get my bread. I tell the truth about everyone." Of course, his version of the truth was often whatever suited his bank account. In 1527, after a political falling out in Rome, Aretino moved to Venice. This was the smartest move of his career. Venice was a republic, the printing capital of the world, and relatively free from the influence of the Pope. Here, Aretino's power exploded. He set up what was essentially a one-man media empire. He was surrounded by artists, writers, and informants. He published everything: plays, religious texts, dialogues, and thousands upon thousands of letters. His letters were his primary weapon. They were printed and distributed throughout Europe, like a modern-day celebrity gossip magazine mixed with a political newsletter. In them, he would praise his friends and demolish his enemies. Getting a positive mention in an Aretino letter could make your career. A negative one could ruin you. He lived like a prince, in a grand palace on the Grand Canal, funded entirely by his pen. He also became a close friend and promoter of the great Venetian painter, Titian. Aretino acted as Titian's agent and publicist, using his vast network to secure commissions from the most powerful people in Europe. It was a mutually beneficial relationship. Titian painted several portraits of Aretino, capturing his imposing presence, his intelligence, and the slight smirk that hinted at the chaos he could cause. But Aretino wasn't just a blackmailer. He was a genuinely talented and versatile writer. He even wrote a series of works from a female perspective, which was incredibly rare for the time. He broke the rules, not just socially, but artistically. He wrote in the everyday Italian language, not the formal Latin of the scholars, making his work accessible to a much wider audience. In many ways, he was the first modern celebrity, a man who became famous simply for being himself and for being incredibly loud about it. So, how did it all end for the Scourge of Princes? Legend has it that Aretino's death was as dramatic as his life. The story goes that in 1556, while at a raucous dinner party, he heard a particularly funny, obscene joke. He laughed so hard that he fell backward in his chair, struck his head, and died instantly. While this story might be an exaggeration, it's a fitting end for a man who lived by his wit and died, supposedly, from an excess of it. Pietro Aretino was a complex figure, a brilliant writer and a cynical manipulator, a champion of the arts and a master blackmailer. He turned words into weapons and information into gold. He understood the power of the media centuries before the term even existed. He proved that in the right hands, the pen is not only mightier than the sword, it's also far more profitable. His life is a testament to the fact that sometimes, the most powerful person in the room isn't the one with the crown, but the one with the best stories. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into one of history's most fascinating characters, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories you won't believe are true. See you next time.